Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Model Railroading Live. Who is Big Bill talking to? It's October 26th, 2022. It's 9:01 p.m., and we are live once again on the Model Railroading Network. Model Railroading Live, the number one model railroading show in the universe. Why? Because I say so. That's why. I don't know if anybody's in the house yet. We'll give them a few minutes to come on. But we have a special guest tonight that will, a repeat guest actually, coming back around to have a talk and see what she has been up to. But in the meantime, let me give you guys a heads up. We're already in October 26th. Basically, we're coming around the clubhouse turn here to the end of October, and we're coming into November. So put this down in your calendars. November 17th, we're going to have Johnny's Train Talk Show again at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. John is going to do his live show. And basically, like I've always said, if you go back to the other videos, you'll see that you guys can be a participant in Johnny's Train Talk Show. If you have a good internet and a decent webcam, you can definitely join in and bring some stuff with you. If you have Bring and Brag, and you can talk model railroading and join other model railroad guys and just talk about layouts, electrical, or whatever it is that you want to talk about in regards to model railroading. So he's going to be on November 17th, and that's Johnny's Train Talk Show. So like I always say, and I seem to get repetitive, so I think I got to get some new material. I got to get my writers to write new material for me. Basically, you can mosey on down to John's Train Shed, pull up a chair, grab a cold one out of the ice box, and start shooting the breeze with the other guys and gals in regards to model railroading. So November 17th, 9 p.m. on the Model Railroading Network. Like I said, the number one network in the world, number one model railroading show in the world. Who do we have in here? We have Grandpa Rails is in. Good. Wag is in. Ethan Amerige is in. Robert Holloman is in. Hey, Robert, how are you tonight? Getting guys in. We're going to have a special guest come on in a moment. In the meantime, let's just go over some stuff. We're coming to the end of October, so this will be the last Who's Big Bill talking to for October. And then we're going to get into November, and we should have some, I know I have some guests lined up. I'm just trying to secure some times with what do you mean about myself? How about myself? How about yourself? Well, Bill, how about yourself? Can you explain that to me, Robert? What was I going to say? Oh, I was saying, yeah, we got them scheduled, but we have one guy. We have two guys that do a podcast, and Wednesday night doesn't work for them. So we're trying to work out a good time for them. We might do a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening special broadcast with them. What else? The other guest I have lined up is tentative. He said he might be able to come on and stuff like that. But that looks good. It looks promising. So with that, we're doing pretty good. I'm doing well. How about you, Bill? I am doing well. My teeth have healed up. My gum, and I'm doing much better. Just getting over this cold, this congestion thing. The weather here in New York City has been really freaky. It has. It went from 90 to 55, like it was being chased by a New York State trooper. Came right to an abrupt stop, and then we were like cold for a couple of weeks, and now all of a sudden it's like 72, 73 degrees. It's crazy. It's sick weather. It's sickness. That's what it is. It's sickness weather. Anyway, with that said, Let me, what else do I have to say? I'm just waiting for a few more people to come in. Paul Muscat's in the house. Hey, Paul. Dwight at Northern Star's in the house. He says, thank you. Robert Holman says, same thing here in Washington State. Let's see. Mojave Model Railroad says, welcome, everybody. Wait a minute, Tina. You know what? Let's bring the special guest in. No sense waiting. We'll just go along. Tina. There she is, Tina Cowett. How are you, Tina Cowett?
Hey, long time no chat. You know, I guess the chat cleared, right?
Yeah, you're good. You're looking good, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah, everything in Las Vegas is good.
It's busy. Well, yeah, it's just, I mean, it's Vegas. We're getting a little cooler weather, which is kind of nice, but I've just been busier than I really want to be, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's good. Well, you know, one of the reasons why I've been watching your videos, you've kind of like revamped your channel, I guess. Would you say that? You've revamped?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say revamp. It's just I found time to do some projects. So I've been trying to get the channel. People have asked me what happened to my channel, and I kind of feel bad because I'm like, well, it's a matter of time. And nobody knew why. And so when I talked about the channel, I mentioned what I had been doing in the last year and the reason why I haven't had much time. And that's with doing a lot of work out here in Las Vegas with Westside Trains. John O'Neill, who owns the shop, we sat down and we had a conversation about a year ago. He had a website that was kind of very outdated, and I offered my services to kind of revamp a new website for him, state-of-the-art e-commerce type site. And he was excited to let me do that, and it's progressed from there to a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that I'm trying to do at the store as well. And everything from doing a POS system to trying to inventory the entire store. And you know, if you're ever in Las Vegas, you have to go to the Train store. John's been in business for 17 years, and he has so many things. This is why I'm anxious to share the store with everybody, because there's a lot of stuff in the store that you can't get anywhere else. And there's a lot of sites that have it, but it's discontinued and you can't have it. And John has it in the store. And that's because John, you know, for the most part, is always just appealed to the locals. Now, we have a lot of international people that stop into the store, which is kind of exciting because you get to chat with people from all over, come to Vegas for vacation, and then they stop down to the store. And, you know, we get to meet them. Now, what's great is instead of them waiting a year to come back to Vegas to buy some more stuff, they can go to the website now. Now, I know a lot of people have complained because, this is out of stock, this is out of stock. And what I've tried to explain to people is you can't put 10,000 products in overnight. Anybody who's ever listed anything on eBay or stuff understand that. And you can't compare the store right now to these stores that have been in business for 15, 20 years with an active website, because they already have products up and all they're doing is adding a handful of products each month. I'm literally going through the store, and as we get new product in, I'm trying to inventory that as well as get our current stock that's in the store as well. And we have to create an individual page for every single product. So when you think of how many products are out there, and then you take a store that's been in business for 17 years, I joked with a picture the other day. I was cleaning the front desk area in prep for bringing in the computer next week that'll be eventually hosting the POS system. And there were literally 3 totes of DCC boards, speakers. I went, are you kidding me? Like, there's probably, I'd say 150, 160 decoders in those totes. Yeah. And I was like, are you kidding me? So again, those are stuff that I'm going to have to eventually get posted as well. And so a lot of people who are looking for obscure stuff, John has a lot of O scale stuff. We're slowly expanding the N scale line. The HO is he's always had. We have G scale in the store because we have a lot of locals who collect G scale and we buy G scale. So I started working with John about a year ago, and that's when kind of the channel, it was actually probably shortly after I had an interview with you. And that's when I approached John, and I started working on certain things. We were discussing how I was going to kind of get paid for all the hours that I was putting in. And, all I can tell you is um, there's a good possibility, and this is breaking news. Sometime in 2023, I'll be the owner of the store.
You heard it here first on Who's Big Bill Talking.
I mean, we still got to work out details with John and everything else and stuff like that. But I feel comfortable saying this because John has mentioned it to a few other people in the store, and I'm beyond humbled to take over the reins from him. To be able to learn over the next couple of years with him, this guy is a walking knowledge when it comes to train stuff. It is amazing to me, not just with stuff he can repair and everything, but his knowledge of the hobby and the industry is unbelievable. I've learned so much in the year, working behind him, asking him questions. And my job is going to be to modernize the store, to kind of bring it into the new age, expand the inventory, and kind of streamline everything. I have a background in business, so I've run multiple businesses, including my radio station, which I still run. And so with working with John, John's like, yeah, absolutely. If you could, whatever you want to do, let's work with it and stuff. And he's been very understanding. I always ask him, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And he's been very understanding. And he's like, yeah, no, I trust you. Let's do this. So hopefully, after the first of the year, because this is our busy season, anybody that has a train store, has been in a train store, they know when you get into November and December with Christmas, it's your kind of your make or break part of the store. It carries you through quite a few months.
What's the square footage of the store, the physical?
Okay, so this is the tricky thing. So we actually have over 2,400 square feet, but the active store is only about 1,200. So we have two bays, each 1,200 square feet. And in the store, the main store, we have a lot of our product. Probably 1/3 of the store is O gauge, and probably actually maybe closer to half, but of O gauge. And on the other bay is where we have right now. I've actually started cleaning part of it, where part of it is for our online sales, how we're streamlining stuff. But it's also, we buy a lot of estate sales, so there's a lot of products in there. I mean, just today, there's one tote that has probably about 60 or 70 O gauge steam engines that we need to go through to make sure they work, so we can get them for sale, and probably another 60 or 70 diesel engines. So there's a lot of product in the back, some stuff from post-war all the way up to some of newer products. And also, John had bought in an estate sale years ago this double deck layout. It's huge. I think it's somewhere around 18 feet by about 8 or 9 feet, and it's a double decker with a helix on it, and that's in that side of the store as well. So so
is it up and running?
Oh yeah, it's up and running. We bring people in there occasionally and we run it, or if we have an open house, he'll have it running and stuff like that. The biggest problem is taking advantage of that side of the store. So that's kind of been my job, is to start kind of cleaning things, inventorying things, find out where we have the store. Once we start getting the POS system up and running, we'll be able to track our sales, what sells, what doesn't sell, and be able to start either liquidating things or start bringing in product that does sell a little bit more. I mean, in retail, if it hasn't sold in 6 months, you really want to get it out of the store. It's taking up space. So I always run things by John and ask him, hey, this is my thought. He knows kind of the direction I want to bring the store. He's seen what I've done with the website, and we've still got a lot to go. I think the best thing that's been for me is over the last month, I was able to kind of change my schedule here at the network, and I've got some great hosts that were willing to accommodate and move some time slots. And they actually got me to where Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm now at the store, either dealing with customers or I am in the back posting product and stuff like that. So I think John sees the commitment that I really want to make to the store, the legacy I want to carry on with what him and his wife started, 17 years ago. Right now, he's pretty much the only game in town when it comes to train stores. We have another store that's O scale, but that's about it.
Now, are you located in the Las Vegas Strip area or out
No, we're actually just off of Durango. So it's like Durango and Sahara area. So like kind of the Summerlin area. The store is kind of not on the frontage of Durango. It's kind of behind like Jimmy John's and stuff. But you can pull us up a MapQuest, and like I said, he's been there for 17 years now, and he's done an awesome job building the clientele. I mean, he has people that come back every year. He has his locals. He has a lot of locals that come in. I mean, we even had during COVID, Chris Angel came in, the magician, and was buying a bunch of stuff to build a layout for the cancer ward that his kid was part of. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So we've had a lot of interesting people come through the store, and it was funny when one of the things I was checking on YouTube is how many there's I don't know, probably half a dozen videos of John's store over the year that people have come in and done videos. and I was like, wow, John, did you know there were videos out on YouTube? And he's like, no, he didn't know there were videos on the store. So
How old is John? Is
John is I think he's just turned 79.
79.
You wouldn't think it.
So he's looking to basically retire or kind of cut back a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's stuff that John wants to do and accomplish, and he hasn't been able to do it over the last few years. He just recently lost his wife, unfortunately, and so I think for him is he has a unique opportunity, handing over the reins to somebody like me, and I totally understand being able to, if you're going to do something like that and work something, you want to make sure the person that you're handing over the keys to, I mean, it's your baby, that is going to carry on the tradition. And I'd like to think that I'm going to be able to, John, and there's some big shoes to fill, but I'm hopefully going to be able to carry on that tradition and be in the hobby and give back to, a hobby that I absolutely love.
Right.
And so this is to me a very unique opportunity, and it's a very awesome because I don't know many. I know there's a lot of husband and wives, but I don't know many women who actually own a train store.
Well, for you guys out there for you guys out there that are just tuning in, our guest tonight is Tina Cowett from Mojave Model Railroading. And she has ventured into or getting into. She's from Las Vegas, as you can see. Welcome to fabulous Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas.
Yes, and she's been on before. She was a guest on our show way back when, and this is she's been kind of getting back into doing her YouTube videos, and I saw them and the updates, and now she's getting involved in this. Can you tell us the address and the name of this?
Yeah, off the top of my head, no. But they can go to westsidetrains.com. So if you go to westsidetrains.com, you can go check out the website. You have links there as well. You can be part of what we have a rewards program that I set up a while ago, which was our Club Car Rewards points. So even if you don't buy anything now, you can go and get points just visiting the site.
Really?
Yeah, so we give you like 10 points just for going every day and visiting the site. And as you increase your points, you get discounts and percentages off. As you buy stuff, you get points. We're gonna, ask questions, do reviews. Occasionally, I write blogs out there, so you can go to the blog page and you can check out the blog. I try to write something every couple weeks. Who knows what it's going to be about? I try to not rant about it. I try to keep things on the positive side if I can. But and products. So the way I have it going right now is on Wednesdays, I try to post a lot of N scale stuff, or whatever I can get done, I post as N scale. And then on Thursdays, it's normally HO. And then on Friday, it's either O scale or miscellaneous stuff. And then over the weekends, I bring stuff home with me, and I end up posting stuff from my studio as well. So I'm doing about 30, 40 hours a week right now down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the genesis of this story? Did you know this gentleman beforehand? And
I have known John when my son was young. He had an O-scale train. We had a Lionel, we had MTH, we had Thomas, and at least once, twice a week, we would go down to the different stores, and John's was probably my favorite store. John and his wife at the time, probably the nicest people I've ever dealt with. Not only does he always give you a fair price, but he's just a nice guy to talk to. He's so knowledgeable. And I couldn't leave the store without buying anything, because when you have a 6-year-old kid who sees trains and it's like, Thomas, it cost me a pretty penny over the years. But, and I've always, once I started doing my layout again, I always went to John. John's always treated me right, always given me great prices. And I remember that, you always try to, I would pay a little bit more for a store where I thought customer service was really good.
I absolutely agree with you. There's a train store called the Model Train Store in Parsippany, New Jersey. Say that fast 3 times. And in that Parsippany, New Jersey, you go in there and the guys behind the counter you can talk to for hours. You wind up maybe buying maybe like a magazine, but like now they go for $7, but you get $700 worth of information. So when you're going to make that big purchase, you don't have a problem going there and dropping that dime on that engine, and you may pay full retail price and not get the discount, but it's worth it because these guys have given their time and effort to you. Nathan.
Yeah, and if John doesn't have, if we don't have something, I tell people, if you go to our website and we don't have it and there's something you want, call John. We might have it in the store, because we've had a few people call and say, hey, this is out of stock on your site. And John's like, goes to me, goes, hey, how come it's out of stock on the site? He goes, we have it. And I'm like, because I haven't got to posting it yet. So,
right.
So he ends up getting the order and placing it, or he'll try to order it for you. And so, as we progress forwards, there'll be more and more products out there. I figured it's going to take me at the current rate well over a year before we get, majority of the store up.
Right. So, okay. Nathan DeLay wants to know, he says, Tina, how did you meet DJ?
Oh, you know what? So DJ is such an awesome guy. He saw one of my videos. He reached out to me personally. And we talked for a little bit back and forth. He actually sent me an autograph book. God, I forgot the name of it. It's from one of the girls who was an engineer, who's a friend of his. It was autographed by her. And he said, you'd really like it. It was about her story of being an engineer. It was fantastic. And I've just always, and it's funny because we kind of connected because I was a former DJ myself. I spent 20 years as a mobile DJ and club entertainer. And he was a DJ as well before he got into the railroad. So, we had that kind of connection, which was kind of nice. And, we just kind of hit it off, and we go back and forth. I share his videos. I love his production value. I love his, his humor. And someday I'm going to get to Pennsylvania, and we're going to meet, or he's going to get out to Vegas here, and we're going to actually meet in person, because he's been just like you, he's been a really true supporter of me. He's a true supporter of women in Model Railroad. So I'm, forever grateful for, him always supporting my channel.
Right. Sparky 107 wants to know, 30 to 40 hours a week, does that leave much time for your layout and posting personally on YouTube?
Okay, so let me explain something to you, Sparky, because this is what's going to blow your mind. So besides working at the train store and doing 30, 40 hours a week there, like I said, in the store and away from the store, posting on the website, I also run my own radio network that broadcasts 24/7. So I'm also in charge of producing the shows there, the banners, keeping that site up and running, being in the studio when those shows run. So I'm doing another 60 hours for that as well. So I'm working about 100 hours a week, between 90 to 100 hours a week. I only sleep about 4 hours a day. I'm usually in bed around 1 a.m. and I'm back up by 7 days a week.
Okay.
I'm a workaholic. So this is why I tell people, if you come out to Vegas, please let me know way ahead of time. Don't just assume that you're going to be able to hit me up and we can go out for drinks, because my schedule is really, really crazy. Like I said, I do an awful lot of work. But when you love what you do, it's not work.
Yeah,
I mean, I hate to say that when I tell people I work like 90 hours a week, because I don't work. That's the thing. I mean, I love what I do. So
right. Now, Sparky, you said, did I miss that earlier? I hate being late. What is it that you think you missed, and I can go over it for you? No, I hate that when not that I hate that he missed it, but
Yeah,
I don't like when people miss something in the beginning. I
I
try
know.
to
Just we'll
stop
play
the
it back
fun.
for you.
So,
We'll
yeah,
just
we'll
we'll reverse it back. What do you want to hear, Sparky? We'll talk about. We were just talking about the stores, the store that I'm working with, Sparky West Side Trains. So, like I said, hopefully you guys heard it here first. I'm just going to narrow down. Probably won't be till the after the first of the year when John has some
oh,
time to sit down with me to kind of go over what kind of deal structure we're going to have. But if things go well, then either I'll be at least 50% owner or I will be full owner sometime in 2023.
Sparky wants to know where did the name Mojave come from?
So we live out here in the desert, so we have the Mojave Desert out here, and we also have the Mojave rattlesnake. So that's where Mojave came from. I wanted something to kind of have a desert feel because we do live out here in the desert, and you have to watch some of the terms you use because they are copyrighted here in Las Vegas. So you have to kind of watch certain things. But I just like originally was going to be Sunset because my original railroad was Sunset Railroad. And then I decided to make it Mojave Model Railroad. And it was tough coming up with Mojave Model Railroad only because anybody that watches my videos and see my layouts for all of you rivet counters, you want to hold your breath and stop typing for a few minutes because you'll stress out. But my layout it's not prototypical. And because I grew up in the East Coast and I grew up around Guilford and Boston and Maine and Worcester Providence, CSX, all those type of railroads. And then I moved out here to the West Coast, and then we have BNSF, you have Union Pacific, all these other railroads. I wanted to say Mojave, but basically it's kind of a mishmash from the East Coast to the West Coast. Someday I'm going to have a big layout, and it'll encompass both the East Coast and the West Coast feel. So this is why, like my layout, if you see it, I got fall foliage on my layout because I miss the fall foliage in New England. But you don't get foliage out here in Las Vegas. We have 4 seasons, and they're all the same season. So
Summer hot, summer hot.
yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. So
Lynn McCurdy and the HDMMRC says, "Hey Sparky, Team Marie is at the northeast end of the desert, and I'm at the southwest end of Mojave."
yeah, it's that that's probably a good analogy, a better analogy, Lynn. Thank you for than what I could give. For me, when I do model railroading, it's the same when I buy engines or cars or whatever. We all have that engine or car that just calls you. And for me, if I think something's sexy or cool or hey, I don't have this, I look really, I don't care if it doesn't belong in my layout or my error or whatever. I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, that is such
Because bottom line, if I go out to my railroad, I want to be able to relax. And I don't want to be so stressed that I go, oh, I can't have that blade of grass because it's from 1980 and I'm modeling 1990.
or the grass is a prairie grass from Kansas, and you're doing a New England scene.
Yeah. All that wonderful stuff.
Exactly. Well, it's such a dichotomy because when we've had guests on of other model railroad layouts, and they have been to the extreme of that, where they have said that if it doesn't, even if I like the engine, but if it doesn't pertain to my layout or to my scenario, I'm not going to buy it, no matter how much I love it.
Oh, I've met some of them. I've seen some of those layouts, and they are absolutely fantastic. And I applaud those people that do the kind of research that they do, and really get so specific in detail. It's just crazy. It's almost like an obsession.
Exactly.
But there is. I think there's I think there's room for everybody, and I don't think we should criticize rivet counters, and I don't think rivet counters should criticize everybody else because there's more of us than there are rivet counters. So
this is true.
There's more, and I can attest to that because I've been in the hobby store for the last year, and I've seen the people who are coming in and buying stuff. It's usually the mom buying something for her kid, single mom. It might be a dad coming in going, "Hey, I haven't played with trains in 20 years." It's a lot of that.
Right.
You have your regulars that come in that have layouts and are looking for specific things, and that's great. But majority of the people that come in are people coming in off the streets who are just interested in the hobby, looking to create something for their grandkids. They don't even know where to start. Um, and I think we need to embrace those people, because I think all of us at some point, we're all kids.
Right.
We were that kid that got the train set.
Right.
I mean, I
Exactly.
played with Barbies, but I also played with trains. I used to put the Barbies on the trains, just run them in the gondolas. But
Nathan has a question. He says, "Will you be featuring any scratch build products, uh, in the store itself in the future?"
it's funny you mentioned that. So I had asked John originally about me posting some of my some of the cars that I've done for weathering there, some of my custom models, so custom weathering by Tina Marie, it would be Mojave Model Railroad, customs, whatever, some of the stuff that I've done. For example, like it's hard to get a deal through Scale Trains. This is something a lot of people don't know, that Scale Trains doesn't necessarily offer deals to small hobby shops. So this is why a lot of small hobby shops don't carry them, because we can't, a small hobby shop is as good as Scale Trains is. You're not going to put out $3,000-$4,000 or more just to get a 5% discount. It's ridiculous. So, you're almost better. And one of the things I mentioned to John is buying a few, weather them, and then sell them for a little bit of a profit, because now you have a custom weathered Scale Train car. So something like that.
Right.
But we've had a few people, since I did the website, I've had a few people reach out to me who have startup companies, whether they're doing 3D printing, or like Nathan, who was on last week with you with his stuff. People have asked us, would we carry certain stuff? And
Nathan?
yeah, Nathan, like the stuff that he's designed.
Nice.
So, like, would we carry stuff like that? Some people have asked us, truly original stuff. And I said, well, absolutely, I think we could carry them. But here's the thing. Number one, it has to be price point on for us. We, bottom line, you're our store, and if you're going to take up space for a product, you need to be able to make a profit off it. It doesn't have to be a big profit, but you still need to make a profit. It also needs to be presentable. So if you're going to do up something, it needs to be presentable in a box or whatever that people can take home, or a way that people can associate, if you look at like Scale Trains box, they're a Scale Trains box, right? Just from the way they look. So there's a marketing involved as well. So I think a lot of that we'd love to get into, but again, there's so many products in the store. Right now, we only have the 1,200 square feet. Eventually, I'd love to kick out that wall and make it, 2,400 square feet, and just really open up the store and be able to double the inventory. And that's something down the line, if I get the opportunity to do that, I would love to do that. And then you have the opportunity to carry a lot more different original products, because you're going to carry your stuff that sells, right? I mean, you've got your 50-60% of the store that you're just going to buy the same stuff it sells, Woodland Phoenix, Track, whatever. You're just going to
Excuse
sell.
me. Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't put out, and I know there are bigger stores that do that, and and fabulous for them doing it. They've had the ability to do this online. They've had a working website, so they're able to sell more products besides locally. When you have a store that's been really centralized on sales locally, and you're trying to make them globally, it takes time to build that client, the client base, and it takes time to build the product base. So 5 years from now, instead of ordering 1 or 2 items from, let's say, for like a building, maybe we're going to order 7 or 8, because we know we're going to sell them online. And that just takes time.
That in itself, in the space, contingent thing. A couple of years ago, when I was going up to Amherst, I went with Steve Atwell, owner operator of Midwest Model Railroading hobby shop out in Missouri, and we stopped by one of the wholesalers that he deals with. And what an education it was for me, because I came to find out that packaging, the guy that was giving us the tour of the warehouse was telling us that packaging was a big thing, that what you are able to display is you don't want as much space being taken up, but you also want the maximum value of the dollar being spent. So that in itself was an education, of how that worked. I have a
Yeah,
question. I have
I
a
think everybody forgets. Like, we lost a lot of hobby stores, over the last 2 years because of things that transpired. Um, because a lot of these stores were run by mom and pop operations. They didn't have what I call an exit plan or an exit strategy. And then things happened and the stores just went away. They just disappeared.
well,
Or they were just weren't profitable.
it's like everything else in life. You got the mom and pop stores, and they become in their own. Like I can tell you here in New York City, diners are a dying breed here in New York City because what's happening is, the immigrant Greek or, Spanish guy or whatever, they started the business when they were young. It's profit. It's become well known. People know the place they go. And
Yeah.
now the kids don't want it because the kids went, because what the parents had for them was to get an education, do better. But now there's nothing for them to buy because they don't want to be in the diner business. So
Correct.
and the real estate is worth more money than the diner's worth. So they don't want to get into the family business. That's what happened with the hardware store, the family hardware store. Home Depot came in, Lowe's came in, bingo. And now you're starting to see here in New York, mom and pop hardware
And
stores.
we're seeing it in this hobby, and this is why I really wanted to help John out, because my biggest concern was we're losing a lot of the local hobby stores where people could just go in, see new stuff, or buy used items, or even if they wanted to trade or exchange their stuff, right? If they wanted to
Mhm.
sell their stuff, maybe the owners would buy it back, buy certain things back, give them credit, things like that. What we're seeing now is almost the same thing where we have a handful of conglomerate type online train stores and everybody wants to save a buck. And listen, I'm just like everybody else. So if you go to our store and let's say an engine is 130, but you can go to another site and it's $95. Why? Because they're going to sell 40 of them. And because they're going to sell 40 of them, they can keep their profit margin at 12, 13%, where we have to pay rent and everything else. And you're looking at, we got to make 25 to 25% to cover the same expenses. So when you look at that, I think people forget that. And this is why I would rather pay a little bit more to a small mom and pop shop and keep those alive, because what will happen eventually is we will end up with 6 or 7 really big train stores online. And as soon as that happens, watch the price go through the roof because now they're the only game in town. And this
Right.
is what exactly Lowe's and all of them did as well, because they took these places over and you're like, oh, we can save a buck. And then all of a sudden all the mom and pop places went up. And what did they do? They raised their prices
Yeah.
because where are you going to go now?
Yeah,
You can't go
exactly.
anywhere.
Exactly.
And then you got to pay shipping and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
a lot of these stores. So yeah, it's one of those things. I would like to see more. I would like to see more of these, whether it's scale trains or some of these other, stores that, sell trains, to be more accommodating to the mom and pop stores and say, hey, listen, we're going to give you this discount. Even though you're only going to buy 2 or 3 engines and not 20, and understand that, how are people seeing their product? They're coming into a train store, and
Right.
who knows, if you help them out, they might end up selling a lot more product down the line. Give them a chance, give them a chance. But there's way too many stores that are owned from, basically older generation, and that older generation is going away. And I don't think we have enough younger generation willing to step into the shoes and say, I want to run a store, because running a brick and mortar store is totally different than trying to run something online out of your house on like eBay.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You have
Well,
set expenses every month, and you got to pay
yeah,
them. you
exactly.
know.
Paul Muscat. I'm sorry, Paul. Paul Muscat.
Muscat love.
He wants to know, will the store do international shipping to Europe,
Yes,
Australia, and other?
we do have the way we're setting up with through our e-commerce store is that if you type in your address, then a shipping price will come up. Now, you know, if we have something in the store and you come in and see it and you want us to ship it, we can. In fact, we just, you know, I don't know if anybody that's followed my social media over the past few months saw that I was drooling over the Santa Fe G-Scale engine that was in the store. And I just kept telling John, I'm like, John, if it's there when I come in next week, it's coming home with me. And I must have done that for about a month. And I finally came in the store and I go, where'd it go? He's like, oh, the guy that was in here a few weeks ago from Canada? He goes, yeah, he wants me to ship it to Canada. So we did. We shipped it to Canada. Now, unfortunately, it would cost more to ship the engine than he paid for the engine.
Sure.
But he was willing to pay for it because he wanted the engine so bad. So yeah, if there's something you want in the store, you see something online, if the shipping doesn't come up through internationally, you can always call us and we can always quote you a price for the shipping. You know, I think that's great. I think we should do definitely, because we get a lot of international people coming into Vegas for vacation and they come in and buy stuff. In fact, was it 2 weeks ago? We had two people from the UK. We had a person from New Zealand. We had another person from, two people from Canada. We had a person from Japan. And they came in and they can't get a lot of the US based product over there. So they bought a bunch of it and they carried it on the plane with them. So
that's pretty cool. Kyle Stevens wants to know, do you model prototype freelance or just proto freelance?
I just kind of freelance stuff. Like I said, I do if I see something I like, well, let me show you, because I got something here. I can't really show the video for it, but I'll just show. So a lot of you guys know that I was doing kind of an Area 51 thing, and I can see if it can show up here. So this is a kind of a UFO that I'm doing, and you can see that. I love that paint. That paint is it's like this two-tone incandescent paint, but there's about 67 LEDs in here. And I have a video on my social media about this with all the lights in it and the guts inside it. And I got a video coming out on YouTube soon about it, but it would have been out sooner. But the kind of person I am is I started putting the legs kind of on the UFO and the kind of the landing gear. And I was like, God, those are boring. I need to customize them. So I customized them, and then I was like, well, those are boring. I got 67 LED lights. I need to put a couple of LED lights on those legs, which means I had to change the legs because now I had to run LED wires up through the legs inside of the UFO. So I just created more of a product. But when it comes to stuff, like if I'm doing stuff for myself, maybe I'm going to weather something, graffiti or whatever, maybe I'll go buy a proto model if I have that car in stock. If I'm doing, which I have done not a lot over the last 6 months, I just haven't had the time for it. But if somebody sends me something, say, hey, can you weather this car or this engine, and they want it like the prototype, then I'll go out and search for pictures and I'll try to see about doing the graffiti and everything they want, so it's prototypical to that particular car. But when it comes to, I'd say most of my stuff is modern, so it's like 1990 or newer, although I do have some steam that I keep in my display case. And occasionally I just pull it out just because I think nothing is cooler than the sound of a steam engine going around during Christmas. So,
well, that brings us up to the questions. Sparky has brought up a good point. We bring up the speed round.
Mm-hmm. Speed round. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
round.
Come on.
And
what
scale do you do?
So right now my main layout is HO. I am also building an N-scale shelf layout, which eventually will be used in the store for display. I've got a G-scale layout that I am currently just putting around the top of my HO layout. So,
okay.
And I still have a bunch of O-scale Lionel stuff sitting in totes that originally was my son's layout. So, G-scale, I'm getting hooked on G-scale. I just don't have the room for it. We get so much cool G-scale stuff, and I'm like, oh, God, you know what? That look cool just on the shelf. I don't care if it runs. I just want it on the shelf. It looks so cool.
What road names do you like?
Ooh, I like so many, but I would say Guilford is one of my favorites. Guilford and probably Boston and Maine. When I was growing up in my small town, we had Boston and Maine that would always come through the town. And my grandmother's house lived literally like 300 yards from the tracks. So we'd always see those trains come by. So that was always exciting. And, Worcester, Providence, those two. But Guilford for me was something that would always come through my town where I lived in Gardner. and I would take my son down, and there was a Subway and the guy and a Dunkin' Donuts in that area, and the guys would always stop the trains, and they'd go get Dunkin' Donuts or they get Subway. And I have to say, I wish I had taken the time to really know those guys, because every time I took my son, they were nothing but incredibly nice to him. They'd, blow the horn, they'd wait. I mean, they just, the guys, one guy even, let him kind of climb up a little bit or whatever and stuff while the train was parked. And so that was just kind of a surreal thing for my son. And then when I moved out here, the side of Henderson that I lived on, we had Union Pacific. And the Union Pacific that we had was like literally just almost just around the block from my house. So anytime the train would come through, it'd blow its horn, and my son would go crazy, like, Mom, 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 we gotta go see it. And we'd have to run up the street to go see the train crossing the street.
Cool,
so,
cool.
I would say those three, I really like. Yeah.
Favorite rail car?
Well, I would say I've got two. One is the box cars, because I love trying to do graffiti and stuff like that. And it's just, I think when you look at the artwork we have today, and I know a lot of people hate graffiti. They're like, I don't want to touch, I want my car look brand new. Well, that's nice. In the real world, it doesn't happen that way. But when you look at the artwork, I used to collect art. And when you see the artwork that's on the railroad with some of this graffiti, these people who do it, the talent level is just through the roof. And I've seen even people who model the graffiti for HO or whatever that do it. And listen, I am nowhere near on some of these people's levels, the graffiti they do that do it by hand. It's phenomenal. So I like boxcars, but I also love tank cars.
Tank car.
Yeah. Someday when I literally have this big, huge oil refinery that I bought, beautiful kit that is just waiting for me to have a big enough layout to build it and put it and light it up and have all kinds of tank cars. Yeah. Yeah.
What is your best locomotive you have ever seen, heritage or other?
I'll tell you what, the best one, I mean, first of all, who doesn't love a big boy? That's probably one of the things that I don't have in my collection yet that I want to get is a big boy. I just didn't want to get it because I don't have the layout that I can run it on, and I want to run it. So I want to make sure when I get it, I have a layout where I can at least put it and run it around for a little bit. But I would say the engine that I love is the new Amtrak engine that I just got from Scale Trains on their 50th anniversary. Oh my God, it's like in the midnight black. I forgot the name of it, but well, I'll tell you what, that is just a sweet, sweet looking engine. It's a sweet engine. Yeah, I would say that.
And the next and last on the speed round is, what is next for your personal layout?
I'm going to take it down. No, I'm going to pull a bill. I'm going to pull a bill and take it down.
You're going to pull a bill and take it down?
No, this layout, the original plan for this layout when I started it, I had no intentions of doing a YouTube channel. I already was working on it before the YouTube. I got encouraged from people who came and saw it that you should do a YouTube video. And people who had seen my weathering and some of the other work and some of the other layouts I built for other people, they had asked, hey, God, you should do a video on. And I said, well, it's so hard to do a video when you're focused on doing the work. I don't like because I have a background in communication TV. I don't like feeling like I have to stop and edit and get this angle, because I'm all about production value. And I think it takes away from the time that I really want to do, which is just to build. But the whole point of this layout that I built right now was never going to be a permanent layout for me. This was going to be a layout that I was going to explore the hobby, explore my talents, explore my weaknesses, and learn from it, get better at crafting skills, get better at scenery, get better at building buildings and lighting and wiring and everything that I wanted to do. Find a way to get it even better. So when I finally build my house and have a nice big basement, I'm building for a final project, and then I will eventually sell this project. So yeah, so it's never going to be a. Yes, that's right, Lynn. That's why you sent the hut to me, because that hut is that hut is actually halfway built. It's halfway built and that's going to be the UFO research center. with the LEN 51. So yeah, that's now that I've got the UFO just about done, that's going to be there. So in fact, let me, because I promised somebody a couple things tonight. So one of the first things, I got a video coming out for it, but people have asked me, because I teased it in one of my videos about the little sidewalk. And let me even see if I can pull up a picture here. Let's see here. No, that's the G-Scale engine. Okay. So that's a beautiful G-Scale engine we have sitting in the store right now. Look at that puppy. Isn't that nice? Oh.
It isn't. It's real grand.
It's very nice. So let me do this. So this is the little sidewalk that I had worked on, and somebody saw the video for it. So they wanted to know the mold that I use, because this is what it comes out at, and then I sand it down and then I paint it. Okay. Now I'm going to show everybody this mold here. So let me pull me up here. So let me show you here. So this is the mold that I use. Okay. You can pick this mold up for $2.99 at Walmart. And if you go over to where they do all the cakes and stuff like that, this is what they use to make looks like a candy bar. And it's just a cheap little mold, and you just put mix a little hydrosol in there, let it harden, and boom, you break it off into little pieces, and they're the perfect size for like not a small but a larger size sidewalk. And you just have to sand them down to whatever level you want. And when you sand them down, if you use a gritty enough sandpaper, you get that texture that you have on top of your concrete, and then you can just airbrush them or paint them or however you want to do it. And then once you get them painted, just take a little bit of like watered down Indie oil or whatever you want to use for weather, and just kind of let it drip and it will spread right out. And it really just makes those groove marks come through. And then you can just touch it up with a little weathering. And because they're small, like individual sidewalks, you can really sand them down to get a nice fit, or if you want cracks. Because one of the things I hate with sidewalks, and especially people who do sidewalks with the styrene, what I don't like is I grew up in an area where the sidewalks weren't always level. So, because of frost, you'd have one that was a little higher than the other. You can't do that with styrene. It looks too... It doesn't look real. Yeah, it looks uniform and boring. So this, you can actually change the level. You can put them up. You can put cracks in them if you want. You can really put, if you want to take and get really picky, which I plan on doing, is you can take some of the static grass, put it down in those cracks, and really have that static grass in the cracks and things like that. So I was really excited. I saw it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And I actually tried it with the hydrocol there, and then I also tried it with the grout that I use for the road. And I will tell you, don't try it with grout. I thought grout might hold up better, but it was horrible. Like the minute I tried to sand it, it just broke. So
yeah, I have to tell you that the realism is extremely important, because my wife is probably the only one who was ecstatic that the layout came down, because I was, because I wanted to make it so realistic, such a railroad, that I turned my living room into a crew room. And my wife wasn't cooking anymore. All she did was put a crock pot of hot dogs and cases of soda in the thing, and big case and cakes. And that's how we would eat. We paid like 75 cents, my son and I, and we'd eat hot dogs. But the biggest the biggest thing that she really liked was, we kind of put the door back on the bathroom, and I fixed the toilet seat. And because what I did was I wanted to make it an authentic crew room. So I would take the toilet seat off, and I stuck wet newspaper in the corner. It really smelled, and I took the door off the hinges, so there would be no privacy. And for toilet paper, I cut up really like tiny pieces of paper and stacked them. So she's happy that the layout is no longer around, because there's no sense having a realistic crew room, with beat up furniture.
I think we all try for realism. I know most of the people, like even with me, I go back and I look at stuff, and I've had people come over and go, "Oh, that's so detailed," and I go look at it, I'm like, "Oh, I could add this, I could add this," and you start making that list. And I think that's probably the most, for us model railroaders, that's probably the most dangerous thing in the world, is that list, right? That God, I just want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this because I'll do something and I'll check something off my list and then I'll add 10 other items. And
Of
it gets
course,
so long.
of
This
course.
is one of the reasons why.
Tina, I have so many questions here that I feel I have to get to. Not some of them are nice, good questions, but some of them just let me read off. Nathan DeLay here says, I think the rumor that people say the hobby is dying, but I think it's a false rumor because there's so many young people on YouTube that like the hobby as much as us. I think the hobby will continue growing. And he further goes on to say, to be honest, there should be more cheaper stuff because I think they will buy more. But I could be wrong about that. But it is my opinion. And then he asked the question, do you sell British trains? Because I love British trains and would love to go to England someday.
We don't sell British trains. I think we might have some. I know personally myself, I have a bunch of British rolling stock that I just bought a few months ago off an estate sale that I'm going to be trying to unload. But, it's hard because you can't really buy those here in the States, and you're not going to get them unless somebody brings something in from an estate sale, let's say.
Yeah.
And in regards to the hobby dying, I don't think the hobby is dying. In fact, I think it's bigger and better than ever. I think with what transpired over the last couple of years, it gave people plenty of time looking for a new hobby to do. And, this is where it's gone. I do think the hobby is changing. And I think this is part of the reasons why a lot of the stores closed. They were an older generation. They were set in their ways. And the hobby is changing to more of a digital way of doing things. So if you are not tech savvy, if you look at the new engines coming out, the whether it's the DCC boards, whether it's the speakers, whether it's the DCC controllers, right? I mean, everybody likes the new bells and whistles. Well, those cost money, and a lot of people are very tech savvy and don't, that want to get in the hobby, but there's a lot of people that don't. They get intimidated. The older generation kind of gets intimidated by that. And I think that's where the hobby is changing. And I think those stores who embrace the direction that this hobby is going are going to really succeed. Those that don't, eventually that clientele that comes in that is looking just for those blue box or DCC, those DC engines or whatever, they're going to go away. They're not going to be here anymore. And you're going to be left without moving forward because all the younger generation, they're around tech all the time. So if you don't understand it and can't explain that part of the hobby to them, first of all, you're losing a huge amount of sales because a lot of those trains that are coming out nowadays are all that. Now, as of stuff being expensive, inexpensive, I think I'm trying to remember I think it was DIY or DIY or something. He does N Scale. He did a great video of trying to explaining to people what the cost of an engine was back in the 70s and what the pay was to what the cost of an engine is now and to what the pay is. And believe it or not, it was more expensive to buy an engine with what you made back in the 70s than it is now. But we look at it as when you're making only $1.25 an hour and then you have to go pay $10 for an engine, you go, well, it's only $10 because we're thinking of it today's economy. But when you're making, $50,000, $60,000 and have to buy a $300 engine, it's not as expensive as you think. Now, the hobby itself can be as expensive as you want it to be. And I've always said this, that, there are many people who find ways, and I'm one of them, listen, I work in a hobby store. I'm going to hopefully own a hobby store. But I'll be the first one to tell you, if you don't have the money to buy certain sceneries, think outside the box. Go out to the desert and sift some sand if you want sand. Don't go buy it for $6 in the bag. I know it's sacrilege to be saying that, but I mean, for people, they should understand that. Yes, Jimmy from DIY, Digital Railroad. People should turn around and understand that you can turn around and always find ways. Like one of the things that I used to love doing is I used to love going for walks. Where I live, there's some remote areas. We live right next to a reserve. And I would always look for what you call dead trees or sticks or something like that, or even shrubs that when I clean my backyards. And I was like, you know what, geez, if I take these, I tape them together and I put them this and I spray paint them, and look, there you go, instant tree. You learn to think outside the box, so you're not having to spend so much money in this hobby. Okay. But there is, everybody has their bucket list of stuff they want. And I think the biggest thing is N Scale has come such a long way that with N Scale, you don't have to necessarily spend as much, and you can get twice as much into an area. Now, again, for little kids, it's tough, it's a little difficult. So you want to go with maybe the O scale stuff, put it around a Christmas tree or whatever, and let them graduate from there. There's a little bit more durable, not as, detailed, although you can get really detailed, O gauge stuff. But yeah, I agree. I think there are elements that are expensive and there are elements that are not, but like with everything, there's costs of goods sold. I think what everybody in this hobby needs to do is they need to go to like a Scale Trains. They need to go to a Walthers or an Athearn or an Atlas, or even take a tour of Microengineering, for example, with the new owners, and see how much work goes into making that flex track. And when you complain because it's $7 for a piece of flex track, understand the people who are making it, the machinery, the lights, the material you got to buy, the marketing, the shipping, all of the stuff that goes into that $7 product, and stop complaining about it. And understand that what you're doing is not only are you supporting the hobby, but you're supporting people in the hobby who help keep this hobby alive. Because if we keep trying to find the cheapest way to do things, we're not going to have a hobby, because businesses are no longer going to be able to make a profit. They're going to say, you know what, it's not worth me to continue to do this. I'm not making any money. Everybody should be entitled to make money in this hobby, and regardless of what business it is. And, it all depends on how much. Now, yeah, again, some of these things, I watch people all the time on these, well, I can go here and get it for this price. I can get it for this price. Right? Well, that's great. We even have people come into our store with let's say they want to sell some of their estate. And they go, hey, I've got this engine in it and it retails for $180. Well, that's great. But what you need to do is go look, did it sell for $180? No, it's not sold for $180. It's online for $180. No one's bought it for that price. The 4 people that have bought it for $70. Now we want to make a profit. So if I give you $70, I'm not making a profit. So now I need to give you $45 or $50. And then I got to maybe even less, because now I'm talking about fees. I've got to clean it up. I've got to market it. I've got to get it on my site. So people have to understand the work that goes into stores. And I don't care if it's Atlas, Scale Trains, any of these stores. I understand people want the most bang for their buck, but there's a reason why we go to hobby stores, right? And it's not just for the trains. Let's face it. I go to one of the things that I have loved over the last 6 months is the people that I have met coming into the store. People who are in this hobby, who are passionate about it, guys that I've met, women that I have met, kids that I have met. To this day, I get touched every time I'm in the store, and I hear a mom or I hear a dad in the store, and I hear a little boy go, "Mom, Thomas," and I get tears. I start crying because I think of my son. And I think we forget that, that we all want to save a buck, but you can't put a price tag on memories.
No, you can't. Very well.
Just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents.
No, very, 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 very well put. Very well put. Very well put. A lot of people here, Robert Holloman, John Benacki, have all said that they go to Dollar Tree to buy their stuff, and I personally go down the local drugstore, CVS, Walgreens, into the makeup aisle and pick up my 25,000 Q-tips and makeup sponges for like $1 a piece.
Well, I will tell you straight up, if you guys are going in the makeup aisle, you're paying way too much money, because I'll tell you how much money I spend for makeup stuff, and I'm going to go to the hobby store. It's cheaper.
Oh no, I don't buy it. I buy the stuff like CVS has.
Oh no, like the Q-tips and stuff like that, things like that.
Like this is the funny thing is, one time I went to the CVS and was walking down the aisle. I had come back from the pharmacy in the back, and I was walking down, and there was a rack, and it had like 1,000 Q-tips, but they just weren't Q-tips.
Mhm.
They had the flattened head. They flattened the heads on them.
Yeah.
And then there was a rounded head on the other side. So I looked at it, and it was $3.49. And I
Well,
was
that's
like,
like some of these people that some of these companies who sell, they're basically popsicle sticks, but they market them as, for you to do mixing.
yeah,
For
well,
like,
I bought
right, resin mixing, and you're going to pay, $6 for a 25 pack of popsicle sticks. And you can
exactly.
go
I
buy
bought this,
500 for $2.
I bought this for $3.49, $3.50 plus tax, whatever. It was $3.70, and I walked out. And then a couple of days later, I went to the Edison Train Show in New Jersey, and there was the same bag, the exact same bag. It was like stacked on the tool thing, and the guy was selling it for $10.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? $10?"
Yeah, and I think like when you look at like a lot of the stores, one of the things over the last few months building the website for John is seeing the difference of prices from store to store to store. And there's a lot, I mean, God, there's a lot of train stores, a lot of people who don't have brick and mortar stores. They probably do it out of their home, which again, if you do not have a brick and mortar store, you have a slight advantage just because you're not having to pay, anywhere from $3,000 to $15,000 a month for rent. If depending how much square footage you have. So you automatically don't have that overhead. So, hey, I can charge a little bit less because I don't have that overhead. So it's things like that you have to look at.
Yeah. The other thing is, well, the other thing, and before I get to this next thing, is they're building a house across the street, and these guys are like, it's a wood. They're using wood to build it, and they're cutting scraps off 4 feet long, and they're throwing them away. And I'm like,
Really?
yeah. And I go over there, and can I have these? And the guys, yeah, take them. So I'm taking 4, 5, 6 footers, and I'm like, man, what a waste, but I'll take it. Sparky here. I hang out. Well, John Panachek says, Nikki. My wife is a quilter, and I find a lot of tools at the quilt store. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Sparky says I hang out in the hobby store to see the people coming in, people and kids. And then I remember the day when I was a kid and how excited I was to be in the hobby store.
Yeah.
I go to Dollar Tree store and spend the $1.25 for a box of Q-tips, Robert Holloman. And Sparky says, my wish list at a hobby store as a kid was a mile long and the $5 bill in my pocket. So by a process of elimination, I could spend hours in that store. What Robert Holman says, what gets me is people selling old kits on eBay for current product prices. Very true.
Well, so here's the thing that people have to understand with those two. So older products, if they're used, it's one thing. But if they're new and still original boxes, like for example, we sold them pretty cheap, but we bought at an estate sale a while ago, and we had, I don't know, probably 600-700 blue boxes, and they were brand new kits. I mean, whoever had these kept really good care of them, and we sold quite a few in the store. We couldn't even, I mean, every time we put new ones out, they were gone. And we didn't charge much for them, but we could have charged for them. And I think pricing is subjective. So if I want an engine, I'll give you a good example is recently I had sold 2 different items on my on a site, and it was 2 Santa Fe engines, and one was like a number 302, and I think another one was like a 280 something. Both identical engines. One sold for 25, one sold for almost 80. Why? Because 2 individuals who were bidding on stuff wanted that particular number.
Of course.
So when you look at even stuff on the sites, different sites, for example, somebody might go to me and go, hey, I can go over to this site here and I can get it for $30 cheaper than it's on your site. I'm like, you're right, you can, but guess what? They don't have it in stock. It's been out of stock for 6 months. So if you really want it bad enough, then you're going to have to pay our price, unfortunately, because that's what, we're charging, and we have overhead to pay. And so I think it really depends on, there are collectibles out there, especially if you get into the post-war stuff. That's one of the things that I found really interesting, which is unfortunately a dying part of the hobby is the people who collect the post-war stuff. Like you used to get the Lionel post-war stuff, and there were collectors that, oh my, like if it was in decent condition, if you had the box, great. Even if you didn't have the box, it was collectibles. Now, because of the new stuff, which the DCC, the sound, all the bells and whistles that you can get on these new engines, those are not as profitable. So sometimes people associate, well, it's vintage with more money, and that's usually a lot of people who aren't in the hobby. I think that's probably one of the things that over the last few months when I've seen people come in and go, oh, well, this is my grandfather had it, was from the 50s and 60s, and I'm like, well, that's great, but we probably can't get parts for it. Number one, if it's not working, if it hasn't been run, who knows how long it's going to take us to go through, and it could take us anywhere from 12 to 15 hours to go through it and clean it and get it all in working condition again. Well, that's 12, 15 hours. Somebody's going to get paid to fix it. And then you have to look at it and say, in what condition is it? And is there a market for it? Right now, what I'm finding is there's a lot of older stuff that's being put out in the market, and it's dropped the value of it because there's such floods of all this stuff, right? And then when it comes to the new products, because of delay in shipping from overseas on all these products, what we're finding is whoever has it in the store is going to get what they're going to get, because if nobody else has it, then you're going to get it. Okay. So, and I can tell you one of the things right now that I like, we were just talking about this today at the store with John, is like the Transformers. John bought a bunch of Transformers back a few months ago. He got as many as he could get because they were hard to get. He said, I'm going to get what I can. We're almost out of them. It's not even Christmas yet. Right. And we're not going to be able to get any more until after the first of the year.
New Haven Rails, he says, most of the locomotives are made to order now. So if you want something, you need to get it. I recently found some great deals at West Side Trains. Is that you?
Hey, yes.
Give New Haven Rails 100.
He did it. Yeah, he did a video
points.
for us. Awesome.
100 points for him on his thing.
Oh yeah, he did. He did a video box opening for us. That was just super sweet. He said he was going to do that, and I could not thank him enough. That was just awesome.
Give him 100 points on his thing.
Yeah, we do. Well, we gave him a little something. He knows. I gave him a little something. He knows. In fact, one of the things I want to share with your listeners, Bill, because great thing about being the webmaster is you can do certain things. Is so. Shortly after this show, between now and Halloween, so between now and November 1st, so October 31st at midnight, if you go over to our store and you order anything and you type in Big Bill, you're going to get an additional 10% off at checkout. So that's just my way of saying thank you for having me back on again, because you've always been very supportive of my channel and me. So for between now and so it'd be shortly after the show is done, we'll have the coupon out there and you'll be able to go and order anything. And again, we post stuff weekly. And also for those of you who are looking forward to Thanksgiving, I can announce this because I just approved it with John just the other day. So from Black Friday until Cyber Monday, we're going to have a coupon code. You'll have to go to our website to check what it is, and we'll be posting it on our social media, but you'll get an additional 13% off. 13 is no longer a lucky number here in Vegas. You'll get from the Black Friday to Cyber Monday an additional 13% off when you go check out in our store during those 4 days as well.
So from now until when this show ends, until the 31st or midnight of the 31st of October, if they type in Big Bill, not Big Who, Sparky, Big Bill, they'll get 10% off.
10% off anything they order in the store, yes. Yeah.
And the website again is?
westsidetrains.com. So westsidetrains.com. And if you are in the Vegas area, I'm usually there on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Please stop in. We're open from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. Wednesday through Friday, and then 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. on Saturday. Sometimes I'm there on Saturday, but I'm definitely there on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But stop in, say hi. I'd love to meet you. And also want to thank those of you. God, almost forgot to mention. So I had posted on my thing about having people send postcards to me through my channel, and I was going to send them stuff back. And I've got a bunch of people who sent me postcards, even from overseas. I'm just, wow, blown away by it. I love it. They're going to be going on my marquee around my train layout, just kind of to remind me of, how awesome this hobby is. And I'll be sending them out a little something. So if you are listening to the show, go over to my channel, Mojave Model Railroad, check out that video on the postcards. In the description is my address. You can send me a postcard and you'll get a little something back in the mail from me. And one other thing, Bill, I was going to do this. I posted on my social media, and you have to watch the chat room. The first person that because I'll know if they watch my social media or not. So the first person that can tell me what movie I watched the other night and why I watched it and what was my former occupation, you can put it in chat. You can reach out to me with your address, and I am going to send you a Mojave Model Railroad coffee mug. So I'm anxious to see if anybody got that. I told everybody on social media I was watching it, having a glass of wine, which I haven't had in months. And I posted a picture of the movie I was watching and the song that I used to do something with. Everybody's gonna run it over my social media.
Well, I usually give you the happy guns with this, but I'm going to give you the root happy guns. Yeah.
So it's been nice reaching out to everybody. Like I said, so people who watch my channel, if you don't see a video come out really quick or I don't get right back to you, just so you know, it's the train store I'm working on.
Can I take a guess at that movie?
Sure, go ahead.
The Big Lebowski.
Nope.
Right.
It's a chick flick.
Oh, chick flick. Okay.
It's a chick flick. Although The Big Lebowski, because I'm a bowler, that was a pretty funny movie as well.
Yes, it was. Let's see. I have one last question from Sparky. What is worth more? What do you or what would you sell it for? Brass painted or unpainted? I don't understand people wanting the brass stuff. And if painted, then I really don't get it, he says,
So when it comes to the brass stuff, what you're paying for the brass stuff, I think the painted stuff has its value. And we've had some brass painted stuff. I know we had at one point a brass HO Union Pacific. I'm trying to remember exactly which model it was that came in, and it literally didn't stay in the store that long. It went through. Now, the reason for the brass is because of the detail that is in those and the workmanship that goes into it. It's sort of like saying, like why is if I go buy a trailer, why is a prefab trailer cheaper than a custom home? Well, it's the work that goes into it.
Yeah,
and this is why, right? And this is why the brass has such a value. Now, I will say that brass doesn't have the appeal that it once had because a lot of the brass stuff was more aimed towards the O scale. Then it became HO. I don't know of anybody doing brass and N scale, but I understand the reasoning for it, and I think a lot of people get it because of like I said, the detailed value in the brass. And some people paint it. I'm not a fan of, if you're going to get a brass, then keep it as brass. But if you get it painted, people don't necessarily, you have to tell people it's brass, right? You got to, this is brass. And they'll pick it up and they'll be like, oh, wow, they could tell. But I think the value of brass, because of the cost of materials, is just not worth it. I think the technology and the detail that are in some of the engines that are being produced today, you don't need brass. You don't need brass. If you really want to get in the details, you can do the 3D printing.
Yeah. Way back in 1982, I bought a brass center cab diesel engine. At that time in 1982, I paid $175 for it. And I thought that was a lot of money.
Wow.
And I never, it wasn't painted. It was brass, and it had the bell, and it had the the pantograph gate for the electric on it. It was a
Mhm.
old New York City Transit, designed after New York City Transit Center-cab diesel and stuff like that. And I still have it. You know, it's a DC, but I use it as a display piece. Somebody offered me like $300 for it once, but
Well, I
it's
think a
just
lot of the brass pieces that were
so
put out there specifically because at the time there wasn't anybody making them. So these brass pieces were kind of custom built.
yeah, this one,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So you don't, nowadays there's so many different things being built, and with the, with the 3D printing technology now, the resin printing,
Oh,
all that kind of stuff,
yeah.
stuff
I
that's getting
mean,
printed is just there's going to come a point, and I think we're not too far off, and I think a lot of these train manufacturing companies were really getting nervous because there's going to come a point where people are going to be. We're already doing 3D scans of people, you know. Mini Prints does it. Bernard does it, where he does a 3D, print of you, and you can get your own person in HO or whatever, right? And you're going to get to the point where these manufacturers are going to come out with an engine, and somebody's just going to do a 3D scan and be able to print it and sell the shell really cheap, and the
yeah,
detail is going to be fantastic. So I think we're coming into a really different part of our hobby, and what they'll do is they'll probably just have the plans for free online, and if you have a 3D print, you're going to be able to just print all this stuff down. We're already seeing people 3D printing like box cars and things like that, and they look pretty decent. They're not as detailed, but again, you can buy detailed parts or kits and put them on wherever you want. So
yeah. Well, anyway, Tina, thank you so very much
I
for
know it's
taking
been so
time out
quick,
of
Bill.
you.
Jeez, what? It's only been like an hour and 20 minutes. Come on, what the? We're just getting warmed up, people. Let's go. Where's the questions? Come on, let's go.
Lynn McCurdy and the HDMMRC says, question, does someone have a TV in the background running? Yes, we do. I do. My wife is presently in the living room, and she's watching the Hallmark Countdown to Christmas,
See?
and it's her favorite channel. So I would get up and tell her to turn that thing off, but
Be
I
sleeping on the couch.
I definitely want to wake up tomorrow morning. I definitely want. One time I told my wife said something to me, and I answered it back. I said, she says, if I ever leave, I said, yeah, you go ahead, just get out of here. And I didn't see it for 3 days, 3 to 4 days. And then the swelling in my eyes went down. And then, so I'm not going to mess with that Italian stallion woman that I married.
Did you have cast iron on your forehead?
Listen, let me tell you, she's got an aim with the hairbrush. You don't think she can hit you from 1,000 yards, but she's a marksman. But she's my little cannoli. I love her. I love my wife. Married 47 years. 47, right, babe? How many?
Yeah.
46. I missed it by.
Oh, you got it wrong, Bill.
Yeah, 46. I only had it by 1 year, but hey, I apologize, Lynn, for the TV in the background. It is what it is.
Hey, so did anybody guess that right? I haven't even checked their thing there if they got it right from the social media. Probably not.
I have a question.
Sure.
From Split Rock.
Okay.
What are Tina's top 5 layout influences, and what other layouts inspired her?
Ooh, top 5 layout influences. What's weird is I don't get influenced by. I think we all look at some of these people who have these incredible, phenomenal layouts, and they are just mind-blowing. What I get inspired by is people who are getting into the hobby, and they come to you and they show you their first tree they made, their first piece of scenery, their first track plan. Or even like your guest last week who was making his own engines. Stuff like that inspires me. There are a lot of great model railroaders. There's some great female model railroaders I follow that do just unbelievable work. I'm like, I keep saying to myself, if I ever get to that level, oh, please, if I ever get to that level. But I get inspired not by the people who do better work than me. I get inspired from people who are just starting out in this hobby and learning, because when I watch them, they inspire me to continue to do great things in this hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so, like I said, to this day, when a kid comes in the train store and I hear the excitement in their voice, that inspires me. Because we are all kids in this hobby. This is how we got in this hobby. We were all kids at one point. And
You're right.
sometimes we forget that. We forget that little kid holding the engine, and so he drops it. Oh well, it hurts. But to see that excitement in kids when their eyes bulge out when they come in, because John has a O scale layout right in the store. And he has a bunch of Menard and Lionel buildings, flashing lights, everything going. And he's also got an HO layout as well. And he'll put that on as well. And to see the excitement in the kids' face when they see the trains running, that's inspiring.
It's funny you should mention about it breaking, falling down. I have a neighbor. When the layout was up, he would come in. He would come to ask about the layout. He always had a habit of reaching in onto the layout and picking stuff up, whether it was glued or not. He would just pick it up and look at it.
Yeah.
And I would tell him that was glued in place.
Yeah.
But then, and I would really get slightly annoyed, because whenever I go to someone's layout, I have my hands in my pocket until I'm given permission, to explore.
And I understand that with like really high end layouts. I
got that. But
yeah.
On the other hand, I have during Christmas and other occasions, I've had my pastor and his wife and their children over.
Mm-hmm.
They had 3 girls. And and I had the blinds up on the thing, and I do the night running. And the girls found when they went in there and they shut the light off, they saw how dark it was. And they came out and they said, "Can we play laser tag in there?" And I was like, yeah, go right ahead. And they were diving under the layout, and they were shooting their guns at each other, and they were hitting each other. And did things get and little Gracie, who's at the time was like 8, I would always go back in, and Grace always thought it was important that all the wiring for the external, control panels had to be sequentially put in, which when you turned it on, your layout just kind of disintegrated electrically, and you'd go around and she'd put trains together that she thought should be together and stuff. And believe it or not, those things never upset me. I never got upset by it.
Let me tell you one of the things I went, and because I know Lynn's
come in and take his little thing off, I'd be like,
there we go. New Haven Rails got it.
City of Angels.
Yes, and I was a former magician. Yes, I used to do to Iris, the song Iris from City of Angels. I used to do an illusion on stage to that, and I watched that movie. So good. Yeah, so New Haven, I'm going to send you an email. We're connected on Facebook, so I'll send you some information. I got your address anyway, so I'll send you some. But I want to mention, because Lynn was in the chat room here. It's probably about a year ago now. I went to go see him and his crew in California, and they set up their modular layout. And one of the things that Lynn and them did, which I thought I would like to see more clubs do it. Maybe they do, but what I thought was fantastic is these guys take a lot of their, like, if they have older engines or boxcars or whatever that they're not using, then that may not be great. They might be Tyco type things, whatever. They have a whole big box they bring with them. And when kids come in and see their layout, they let them come over and pick one out of the box and take it home. I think that is the most greatest thing in the world, because the kids, first of all, get fascinated with trains and they walk away. And when you think of how many people are in these clubs, if everybody brought 1 or 2 of their stuff that they don't use, and they set up their thing for the weekend, and a kid comes in and they let them pick something out, that's just going to get them hooked in the hobby. And I'd love to see more clubs do that. I think it's just a really cool thing and see the excitement. I mean, I was watching Lynn and the kids would get like, we can pick one out. What? And they, and it might just be a little caboose or it might just be an old Tyco engine or whatever and stuff. But yeah, see, Lynn still does that. And I saw that and that inspired me. To me, that's what I think this hobby should be about.
That's
Is
what it is.
people of us giving forward to the next generation.
Exactly right. I remember this is a similar story. I have to tell you, I coached baseball from youth level all the way up until past high school. And I used to go to fields after, the tournament or whatever, and we'd go on the bench, and they would always be 3-4 gloves left by the previous team. So I would gather them up and hold on to them, thinking that, they'll come back and they'll get them. These weren't cheap gloves. These were very expensive gloves.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody ever came until the point where I literally had 2 tote boxes of infielders' gloves, pitchers' gloves, first baseman's gloves, catcher's gloves, whatever. And one of the umpires was going to Dominican Republic and they asked all the leagues if they had anything to donate. And I said, I have a ton of stuff I want to give you. And I gave him the 2 totes of baseball gloves.
Oh, see?
Well, I'll tell you, he went down there and he did a video. You had to see the expression on these kids. These kids were playing with rags on their hands,
Yeah.
and they got these expensive Rawlings, catcher's gloves, first baseman's gloves. You had to see their face. Plus, we gave them, like all the leagues gave them about like 3 dozen baseballs each, and baseballs are a rare, when you're playing with duct tape, you get a regulation baseball, and plus you get 3 dozen from 6 leagues, you got so much,
I was a pro bowler for a while, and I was sponsored by a couple different ball manufacturers. And one of the things that I would constantly do is, I'd use a ball, maybe I didn't like it, and I would just donate it, and these are $150, $180 bowling balls, and I would just give it to one of the junior bowlers. Sometimes it was kids who just didn't have a ball. And, sometimes we forget, because when I was a kid, we would have pros that came into the center I was at, and they did the same thing. So again, it's just something paying forward. And in this hobby, I think if we all paid it forward a little bit more, and just understand that, there are a lot of kids that get in this hobby and we want them to come into this hobby. We want them to stay in this hobby.
Sure.
And this hobby, we want them to have fun in this hobby. That's the bottom line. I don't do anything that I don't enjoy doing. And that includes with my layout. And although I joke about how many hours I work, I really like working with John in the train store and just meeting the people and posting stuff online. That's like, to me, that's my highlight of my day. Get a coffee, head to John's place, and I spend the day there. And I'm like, what cooler way to go to work, right? To go to work and be around trains and then talk to people who come in who are more knowledgeable than you, and you learn something new. Or somebody who comes in and doesn't know anything about trains and you get to share your knowledge. That is the best feeling in the world. Absolutely. Hands down. So thank you, Bill. You gave me my first start it was a little over a year ago. When I launched my channel, you reached out to me, and I got a huge bump in my channel from that. And that's when I met Lynn, and I met a lot of the guys that are in the chat room tonight. Met so many of them, followed their channels. I feel bad that I don't get the chance to watch their videos, a lot of their videos, as much as I'd love to, because there's so much talent on YouTube. I look at some of these people who have like 40, 50,000 followers, and I'm like, I was blown away to get over 1,000, and I'm like, I can't even imagine 50,000, because I follow back. I can't imagine trying to watch 50,000 channels.
Ron Moss just accomplished that, 50,000.
Yes, I know Ron did too, but Ron's got a great channel. His N scale layout and his video production quality is absolutely fantastic.
And he's just really as busy. Guy. He's just as busy. He works he's a full-time pastor, and he also works in the I think the Baptist rescue and stuff when a situation hits. Like down in Florida, his group was down there, tearing down and building up houses and stuff like that. So, he's just as busy. So to accomplish 50,000 is quite an accomplishment.
You know what?
Yeah,
I have to tell you the channel, one of the channels that I absolutely have fallen in love with.
South Brooklyn Railroad, of course.
Well, no, because some idiot took his layout down. No longer. How can you call it a railroad when there's no railroad?
The ring on the finger, Tina.
That's false advertisement. False advertisement. There's no railroad. No stinking railroad. No, but it's I think it's Caboose Hobbies. I think that's what it is. Yeah. It's this older couple, and she is so funny. She just, oh my God, I can see that's going to be me in about 30 years, wearing silly hats and just selling stuff out of the store. And, that's the kind of store I would love to hang out with. It just looks like so much fun. To me, that's what I love.
And what Robert Holman wants to know, once again, what is the website for the hobby shop?
It's westsidetrains.com. So westsidetrains.com. Between now and Monday night, if you type in Big Bill, I'll have the code up shortly, but if you type in Big Bill, you'll get a 10% discount in the store, just for my way of saying thank you. And then you can go in from Black Friday to Cyber Monday. Same thing. You'll be able to enter in a code. I believe it's going to be Lucky 13, but we'll have it posted on our social media as well, and you'll be able to get 13% off from our website there. And what's great is we do have a Club Car Rewards program. Go check it out. Click on it. Find out what we offer. We offer all kinds of different. Just from going every day, you get 10 points just from visiting the site. If you leave a review, if you buy products and leave a review, if you want to write an article for our blog and send it over my way, I'll give you points. Okay. So, talk to me.
And what's your personal social media?
If you go mostly everything, if you follow under Mojave Model Railroad, usually Mojave Model Railroad, you'll be able to track me down. If you go to mojavemodelrailroad.com, that's my personal website, mojavemodelrailroad.com. You can check me out there. My social media links there. If you go to westsidetrains.com and you click under the About section, you'll find John and you'll find me, and all my social media links there as well. You can go to the blog on our website as well, and I write articles periodically there. But right now I'm really, really focusing on trying to get all the products up in the store. But at the same time, we are so busy with people coming in. And next week, I'm actually going to be installing the POS. Well, not the POS system, but the computer system, everything. We're running Cat 7 cable and everything in the store so we can have all that. So I built the computer, all that wonderful stuff for the store. So.
Well, Tina, we thank you very much for taking
thank
time
you so
out
much,
of
Bill. Thank you, everybody in chat.
For your from your very busy schedule to spend some time with us. This has got to be the longest time we've been on, but I do appreciate touching base with you and always enjoy talking to you. It's always such fun, such educational, and such inspiration. It really is, and I really enjoy.
Inspired realism starts here. That's what I say. That's my motto.
Yeah. And we thank you again, and we want to thank all you guys out there for participating in the Q&A. It was really nice, and glad you guys got it in. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's questions and stuff like that. I do apologize. I also do apologize for the TV in the background. Since we've taken the layout down in the spare room, my son has moved back in for personal and health reasons, and so I don't have access to that room anymore. But with that said, life is good. Life is great. So again, on November 17th, we're going to have Big John's Johnny's Train Talk show, and that's at 9 p.m. And we also got a couple of guests coming up in the November, and I will keep you apprised of that as we go. It's October 26th. Thanksgiving is coming up on us. So with that said, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. You be well, you be safe, but most of all, please be blessed and have a safe week. And we'll see you guys on the radio.